server. Alright, so this is Blaster Master Zero. If anybody out there is familiar with the original game for the NES, this is a reboot of that game. So for the most part, it's an entirely brand new game, but it borrows a lot of like themes and elements from the original game. Area 1's gonna look really familiar to you guys if you've ever played the original. Area 1 is pretty much a carbon copy of the original game, but from Area 2 onwards, everything is pretty drastically different. They added a lot of new areas and new boss fights, new abilities for both Jason and the tank. Just a lot of content in this game. Unfortunately, I'm doing the any percent run, so you're not going to get to see a lot of the extra content they added to this game, but they really did an amazing job putting this game together. I'm playing this on the Nintendo Switch right now, but it's also available for the 3DS. It's a digital download only, but it's only a $10 game. It's definitely well worth it in my opinion. There's an extra damage boost I can do in this dungeon if I would have got a health drop from an enemy in here, but did not get it. And on the same page, I didn't get any grenade drops from the enemies, so I have to farm both sides of the hallway here. If I would have got a random drop from one of the enemies on the way in, I wouldn't have had to go to both sides, and it would have saved a little bit of time. Nothing too significant, like a second at the most, maybe. So there's not much to the Mother Brain fight, it's just pretty much mashing your regular shot and at the same time trying to keep a steady grenade rhythm going, which I failed pretty bad at right there. That fight could have been a little bit faster. When that fight goes optimally, you kill Mother Brain before she even has a chance to move at all. She moved a little bit there. Nothing too major though. But killing that boss gives us a weapon upgrade, which will allow us to kill a wall monster blocking the entrance to Area 2. You can't kill that wall monster unless you have the upgraded gun from killing Mother Brain. And now we're in Area 2. This is where things start to get pretty different from the NES game. But the first part of this level, there's really not too much noteworthy to talk about, just a bunch of platforming. Unlike the NES game, lag really isn't an issue in this, so there's not really any lag reduction strats to be done, so improving your time really comes down to just getting more and more optimal with your movement. Not doing stuff like that. Alright, so this jump right here is pretty hard. And I actually got it. It looks really simple, but when you try jumping at the edge of a pit of purple sludge like that, the game likes to suck you into the purple sludge and eat your jump. So that jump ends up being really precise as a result. Hey, how's it going, Ninjadillo? That's what I was talking about right there. I hit jump, but because I was near the edge of a pit of purple sludge, it sucked me into the purple sludge instead of actually jumping like I needed it to. That's not good. If I wouldn't have messed up my movement, you can jump under those two enemies, or kill them and make them not even an issue, but mistimed my jump. Alright, so this dungeon can potentially go south pretty easily. I damage boost through all of the purple crap, which, as you can see, takes quite a bit of my health away. And to not die in the final room of the dungeon, I pretty much have to not mess up any of my movement at all in the dungeon, or it'll throw off the cycle. Oh, nice. Yeah, I still haven't played Ikoro yet in this. I downloaded it, I just haven't played it. Alright. That room's always scary. Alright, and here we have Crabulus. It's the same boss as the Area 2 boss from the NES game, but it's a drastically different fight. They pretty much completely redesigned this fight. Alright, you might notice during the fight that I rotated around the boss to the top part of the screen. The reason for that is it sets me in position to be able to grab the item as soon as it spawns and not waste time walking around to it. Alright, and after killing that boss and getting yet another shot upgrade, this one allowing us to break open destructible blocks, it also allowed us to rescue Eve. In storyline terms, she's like a robot alien that was sent to the planet to pretty much help Jason destroy the alien invasion. This game actually has two different endings. There's a good ending and a bad ending, and to get the good ending you have to 100% complete the game. If you just beat the game normally, it ends after Area 8, just like the original game. If you 100% clear it, you go on to a 9th area and unlock the good ending. The storyline for this game is kind of interesting. They took elements from both the Japanese and US original game. And for anybody who doesn't know the deal with that, the Japanese Blaster Master and the NES Blaster Master had completely different stories. They completely redid the story for the US port. And for this game, they kind of combined elements of both of those stories and then threw in a bunch of their own new stuff as well. The way they handled it was really, really well done, I thought. Alright, so Area 3... there's a lot of belts here, and the ones that I actually have to land on and manipulate to lift up the walls are pretty annoying, to be honest. Sometimes even though the button pop-up shows up and you hit the button, it just doesn't grip onto the belt at all. I'm actually playing it really safe too and moving these walls a lot further than I need to. When I actually do PB attempts, I cut those really tight. Now we're coming up to Central Gear. This is the Area 3 boss, and it is the first major RNG hurdle in the run. It has a ton of different patterns it can throw at you, and out of all the patterns it can throw at you, only 2 of them end up being patterns that you can one-cycle, which is what I'm hoping for here. And the time swing from good RNG to bad RNG on this fight is really significant. It can be upwards of a minute. And we're getting bad RNG. More bad RNG. I hope I remembered to jump over the save point. If not, this save warp is not gonna work. Okay, I did. So because I never touched any of the save points in Area 3, this game has a save function in its sub-menus, so after I killed the boss and got the item, I was able to go into the menu and save and then do a soft reset and reload my file, save warping me back to the beginning of Area 3, saving me some backtracking. And from killing the Area 3 boss, we now have the hover upgrade, which will allow us to go back to the very first screen of the game and hover up the wall, much like the NES original, and that'll give us entry to Area 4. The only way to refill your hover gauge in the original game was to pick up hover drops from enemies, which are the blue orbs that certain enemies have been dropping. In this game, because your sub-weapon ammo is also tied to that meter, in the original you picked up ammo for your sub-weapons. This one is tied to your sub-weapon and hover meter. So in this game it automatically regenerates over time. Even with it automatically regenerating, there's a couple spots in the run where you're hoping for lucky hover drops to make it so you can do more optimal strats throughout the game, or throughout that part of the game, I should say. Now onwards to Area 4, the sewers. It's just as maze-like as the original game was, although in a different way. The first thing we're going to do in this stage is we're going to go into the side room here and hit this save point. Because the only thing we're doing in this stage is going straight to the boss and killing it, we can do another save warp just like the end of Area 3. And we have to go to that room to go to Area 5 anyways, after we kill the boss, so it just entirely eliminates any backtracking out of Area 4. When I say the boss of Area 4, I mean the main progression boss. There's a bunch of other bosses as well, but they just give you additional abilities and upgrades that aren't necessarily required to progress through the game. Some of the abilities that the tank gets in particular are really, really neat. It gets a dash ability at one point. It gets a bunch of different shot types. Again, we're doing an any percent run, so unfortunately, you guys aren't gonna get to see any of that. With that said, if you have a Switch or a 3DS, you should pick this game up and just play through the game and you'll get to see it. It's well worth it. It's a cheap game. Now time for the boss. I actually recently had to come up with a new quick kill strat for this boss because they slightly changed his AI in the most recent version of the game. But coincidentally, the new quick kill, because of the way his AI works now, is faster than it was in the earlier version of the game because it places me in a good position to be able to grab the key as soon as it spawns. The old version of the game, the quick kill required you to stay on the right wall, and you wasted probably 3 or 4 seconds having to go all the way over to the key after it spawned. So this is an element they kept from the Japanese version, the suicide jump into the ladder. Although they made it more forgiving. If you miss it in this, you're probably just going to land in the water and not die. In the Japanese version of the original game, though, you had to grab a 1-pixel ladder after a suicide jump like that, and if you didn't grab the ladder properly, you just died. And that game had... well, actually, the Japanese version of the original had unlimited continues. The US version only had 4 continues, however. Gotta use the quick kill. Exactly. So now we're in Area 5. This is actually home to the only useful out-of-bounds glitch in the game. Unfortunately, that's another thing that's only really useful in 100%. We go out of bounds to grab the Area 5 map, and it saves a little bit of time. I don't need to grab the maps in any percent though, so no out of bounds. The way out of bounds in this game works essentially though, you have to be underwater, and you have to be in a 1-tile high opening, and you just have to line up on a certain pixel and eject from the tank while holding up, and it'll clip you into the ceiling and allow you to swim through the wall and out of bounds. So, like I was saying earlier, this game borrows a lot of the stage themes, not the musical themes, but the actual like atmosphere and theme of the level, the way it looks and everything. It borrows a lot of that from the NES version, but as far as the actual level design goes, it's completely new. It follows a similar flow through the game though, where you have to proceed through Area 3 to get the hover and then go back to the beginning and move on to Area 4. It does change it up a bit. In the original, after you beat Area 6, you go on to Area 2, and the entrance to Area 7 is located in Area 2. After you beat Area 7, you go to Area 3, and then the entrance to Area 8 is in Area 3. This game, the entrance to Area 7 is in Area 3, and you proceed on to Area 8 from Area 7. So they changed up the progression of the game a little bit there. Alright, so this dungeon is the next big RNG hurdle in this run. I need to leave this dungeon with a full gun meter. For that to happen, I need to get really lucky with RNG and get a lot of gun drops from the enemies. I need 4 bars, and there's only 2 enemies left in the dungeon that will be dropping gun for me, potentially. So I absolutely need a large drop from one of them. Large drops refill 4 units. That's only a small. If I don't get a large drop from this final enemy, it's not like run over or anything. It just means I'm going to have to waste a little bit of time farming gun upgrades now. I'm only 2 bars short, so it's not going to be too bad. 10 or 15 seconds probably, nothing too significant. The way the current record for this category is, if I don't get all the gun drops I need off of enemies on the way through the dungeon, my run's just dead. I'm losing too much time. Luckily though, for a marathon run like this, I don't have to worry about that too much. Wasting a little bit of time farming isn't too big of a deal. There's the final 2 drops we need. Now we're going to move on to the boss dungeon. Short dungeon is just a hallway with a save point and then the boss, who is Hardshell, or as I like to call him, Zoidberg. He's essentially a big lobster that shoots bubbles at you. Hopefully, my mashing doesn't suck tonight and I can get him down before he moves at all. Nice. That is a really good fight. This fight can be ridiculously hard if he actually gets into his motions and cycles and stuff. And there's a hard mode for this game. It's called Destroyer mode, but it's ridiculously hard compared to the normal game. And that is one of the hardest bosses in the game in that difficulty. And if you try fighting him with any weapon other than the wave beam, it's a ridiculous fight. It's not fun at all. It's also very, very slow as well. That's why any percent, we just hope we get the drops we need. The way the routing for 100% works out, we are going to have a full gun meter going into that dungeon every time regardless, so it ends up not being an issue. Killing Zoidberg gave us the dive gear, which gives us the ability to control the tank underwater, and more importantly, the ability to move through this current pushing against me, which will allow me to access Area 6. Much like the NES game, Area 6 is the token ice level in the game. Can't have a retro game without having an ice level. This game has some pretty strong ice physics, so movement in this part of the game is really, really rough. In my opinion, Area 6 is technically the most difficult area of the run in terms of movement and the difficulty in actually pulling off optimal movement in this stage. Alright, so hitting that switch is going to cause this part of the level to freeze over, which will allow me to drive over what was water and continue on upwards. This level, really, it's just a lot of really hard platforming while also trying to mash and destroy blocks efficiently. Also, I'm hoping for some luck in terms of hover drops, because getting good hover drop RNG will stop me from having to use the retry system in the game to refill my health. It'll also give me more options in terms of hover strats I can use to save time throughout the level. I actually got lucky with hover drops there, so I didn't have to exploit the retry system to refill my hover for this room. So that's good. That saves a few seconds at least. That wasted pretty much all my hover though. Got caught up on the ice. Alright, hoping for a large drop. Nice. The game's actually in a generous mood. So that's going to make the next couple of rooms a lot safer, having more hover. So I'm pausing on this. That sets up my movement just right, so I'll get to the next platform when it's shifting cycles, which will allow me to do a little bit of a platform skip here and hover straight up to the upper platform. There's another difficult cycle skip in this room as well. I don't think we're gonna get it. Oh, we got it. Nice. That's a really hard one to make. If you mess up anything at all in that room, it throws the entire cycle off. Yeah, this has been a really solid Area 6 so far. I would kill for one of these in a good run sometime. More difficult cycles to get. Especially this one. Got it though. You might notice that I'm jumping around quite a bit. That's because, again, the ice physics in this game are pretty strong. And jumping helps counteract some of those ice physics. Hovering the way I did during that fall there despawned enemy that would have been on the ceiling in that little alcove, which would have messed up my movement had I not despawned it. Now on to the boss dungeon. I'm pretty much just going to damage boost through a lot of the first part of the dungeon because there's a lot of gun drops all throughout this dungeon, which will let me refill my gun meter. Now I'm going to switch to the level 6 gun. It's called the Striker. I call it the lightning gun. It shoots a lightning bolt that if you hit an enemy with it, branches out to other enemies that are on the screen. You can only have one shot from it on screen at a time though, and it moves really slow, so if you miss a shot, you're kind of a sitting duck for a while, so it's a really difficult weapon to use efficiently. So I'm going to use it here to try to hit as many of these eyes as I can and take them out as quick as possible. Damn it. This boss can be a bit of a troll sometimes. I'll take that though. Fight could have been quicker, but good enough. Yeah, Ninjadillo, that was a really good Area 6. The boss was kind of slow, but the area itself was pretty solid. Defeating that boss gave us the wall upgrade, which, as you guys are seeing now, allows me to climb up and down walls and across ceilings with my tank. That ability will allow me to go back to Area 3 and proceed on to Area 7. Unfortunately, to get there, I have to do quite a bit of backtracking, and there's no way to save warp around this backtracking. It's just something you've got to do. No, get off the wall. Get off the wall. Oh my god, seriously? Hey! We got the pixel perfect fall. So falling between those mines and the platform like I did has a 1 pixel window. If I would have been 1 pixel further to the left there, I would have hit the mines. If I would have been a pixel further to the right, I would have landed on the platform. Yeah. Hit the pixel perfect fall, but get stuck on the wall 3 times. Exactly. Whatever. This obviously isn't a PB attempt. It's just a run showing the game off more than anything. So I'm not too worried about it. As long as I end up with a decent time overall, I'm happy. If this run ends up being under 45 minutes, I'll be totally happy with it. Which we are definitely on pace for still. Really? Good snipe. Alright, so again, here I'm just backtracking all the way back to Area 1, and then all the way back through to Area 3. And then once I'm in Area 3, I'm going to use the wall upgrade I got from the Area 6 boss to open the wall to get to Area 7. Which, in a casual playthrough, is a kind of interesting part of the game. There's a lot of weird stealth mechanics and elements to Area 7. Of course, in the speedrun, we don't mess with any of those stealth mechanics. We just kind of go berserk through everything. But yeah, in a casual playthrough, it's a really neat part of the game. That was not good. Alright, we're back in Area 2. Unfortunately, we don't have to go, like, all the long way around Area 2 like we did the first time in it. Because of our upgraded tank now, we can just take the quick way to Area 3. Yeah, that is true, Ninjadillo. Area 7 in Destroyer mode, you have to play along with the stealth elements or you're dead. Ah. Nothing better than getting randomly zapped by your chair. Good old static zaps. Alright, and now we're back to Area 3. Fortunately, we don't have to go far to get to Area 7 at all. Just another 2 or 3 screens and we'll be there. So anybody familiar with the original game might notice that the levels that have palette swapped bosses don't have palette swapped bosses anymore. Like in the original, the Area 6 boss looked identical to the Area 2 boss, just a different color and acted different. This game they came up with a whole new boss. Likewise in Area 7, which in the original Area 7 was just a palette swap of Area 4's boss, this game they shuffled things around and took the Plutonium boss, which is on the cover of the NES original game, but is also the first of 2 bosses in Area 8. They took him and moved him to be the boss of Area 7 now. And then for Area 8, you fight what was the final boss in the NES game, and then like a second form to him. Area 9 has another boss, but I won't go into that because that would be a spoiler, and this isn't a 100% run, so I have no reason to spoil anything. Alright, so when I hit these spotlights, it causes these caterpillars to spawn. These caterpillars can be quite annoying. They can stun lock you very easily. You just keep getting hit by them and you can't move. They just drain your health away. So what I'm trying to do when I see those spotlights is, if I know I'm going to trigger the spotlight, I try shooting my missiles in a way to where I take them out right as they're falling. Because once they're on the ground, I can't hit them with my regular shot. I can only hit them with missiles. And while my hover gauge, and also I should say my sub-weapon gauge, while that refills automatically, it does kind of refill rather slowly. And this room in particular, if I run out of sub-weapon energy, I'm in trouble. Luckily, the room went okay. You can get this on Nintendo Switch and also on 3DS. It's a $10 digital download for both systems. And definitely worth every bit of that $10. It's a really, really well done game. You can tell the developers must have really, like, truly loved the original game with the amount of time and effort and quality they put into the reboot. So this dungeon would have a pretty cool stealth element where you would have to avoid being seen by the enemies or get swarmed by them. I'm not going to deal with any of that. I'm just going to grab my lightning gun and use it to just take out all these enemies. Because, again, when I hit an enemy with the lightning gun, it branches out to other enemies within a certain radius, which is a little bit over a screen length. And it just lets me, if I get close enough to an enemy, I can just mash it out and take out pretty much all of them. Now for another huge RNG hurdle in this game. The Plutonium boss, which for some reason they renamed the Skeleton boss in this, but make no mistakes, it is definitely the Plutonium boss from the cover of the NES game. Has the same general look, although it's side view now, and all the same attacks, throwing boulders at you. Alright, I might die here. That was close. This boss can be a giant troll. If he spits boulders at you while you're trying to do that platforming I was just doing, you're probably going to die. Because the boulders bounce very erratically, and if you get hit by one, you're not going to land back on a platform. And when you're out of the tank, you take fall damage, so you'll just die upon hitting the ground. Onward to Area 8. Not the final area of the game, but the final area of this run. Because any percent, all we're worried about is getting any ending. Doesn't matter if it's the good ending or the bad ending. We just want an ending. I should have done the retry exploit to refill my health there, and my hover. This is actually really bad. So I'm going to have to take it a little bit slow in this room. Otherwise I'll run out of hover, just barely had enough. That room could have been a lot faster if I would have had more hover, but I used too much of my hover on the skeleton boss, mashing out my three-way missiles. So while the stage design here is obviously different from the NES game, it shares the same theme as the NES game of tricky jumps and spikes everywhere. Although this is a pretty iconic room that they definitely brought over from the NES game, the purple hallway. Alright, just to be safe, we're going to hit this save point and hit retry. That's going to take a couple seconds, but it's going to start us right back here with our health and hover refilled. Get off the ceiling. Get off the ceiling. Wall upgrade, not agreeing with me. Metroid troll. Alright, that's actually a tricky room. If you mess that room up, usually you just get stun locked to death. Fortunately, that didn't happen. I did get sniped by the bee, though. That's never good. We're getting closer to the end, though, guys. We need to go into this dungeon and fight the boss to get the key, which will allow us to continue on to the final area of the game, and by relation, the final boss. Well, I shouldn't say final area of Area 8, which is where this category ends, and I just screwed up royally. I have to hit retry. I took too much damage and lost my lightning gun. So that cost me a little bit of time, nothing too significant though. There we go. I actually did it right this time. I wasn't paying enough attention to my gun meter, so I thought I was going in with a full gun meter, not just 6 bars. I play it a little bit safer if I know I'm not at a full gun meter going in there, because I know I can't afford to take any hits. We're still fine, though. Decent boss fight. So the lightning gun, obviously, if you mash enemies down with it, does a lot of damage very quickly. But again, you can only have one shot on screen at a time, so actually using that gun effectively can be quite difficult, because to be able to mash it, you have to get really close to an enemy, as close as you can get to its hitbox without taking damage. And if you mistime a shot or misjudge your positioning and miss a shot, you're just a sitting duck waiting to get wrecked. Now we're in the final dungeon of the run. You might notice there's multiple doors into each room. If I take any path other than the path I'm taking, I have to do boss refights. But by taking the right path, I just skip having to do any of the refight rooms and go straight on to the final boss. Now, phase 1 of this boss is very similar to the final boss in the NES game. Underworld Lord walks around, swings a whip at you. So I'm going to try to mash him down as quick as I can. Alright. Now on to the final boss. Phase 2 of the Underworld Lord, the multi-dimensional Overlord. This is the final RNG hurdle of the run. He can give me 4 different patterns. One of them's really fast, another one's kind of fast, but not as good as the other one. The other 2 are really nasty and could kill me on top of being slow. We got a good one, though. $43.28. That's not a bad run, honestly. For being just a no reset run in a marathon, that is a really solid time. So yeah, text, dialogue, all stuff you can read if you buy the game. No, seriously, I do recommend this game a lot, especially since it's so cheap. Thanks for the GGs. Now the credits. After the credits, it'll show a cutscene which alludes to the fact that there's more to do in the game, which they're pretty much telling you to go and 100% it so you can go on to Area 9 and get the good ending. by comparison, my current record for any percent is 42.56. 100% in comparison, my current record for that is 143.41. So it's about an hour longer than any percent. That's how much additional content there is to the game. I want to say my first playthrough, which I 100% cleared, took me about 7 hours? 6 or 7 hours? But yeah, what Ludendi just said in chat. If you enjoyed this run, enjoyed this game, feel free to follow my channel. This is my main project in terms of speedrunning right now. I run a lot of different games though. Too many games. I don't know, Ninjadillo. I don't know. I'm pretty much just gonna do 100% runs whenever I feel motivated to do them. And I don't know, some days I just don't feel like doing it. Hour and 40-minute long category. Most of the games I run are like 40 minutes or less, so that, I don't know, I'm not used to running a category that long. And like a lot of times when I stream, I only have 2 or 3 hours to stream, so I really don't have time to do 100% runs all the time, only on my days off work usually. But yeah, on that note, that's going to be it for me, you guys. I'll go ahead and link my channel in chat, I guess. Yeah, what do we have coming up next for you guys? Oh, damn. Looks like next we have Super Metroid. I don't know if that runner's ready to go now or not. The run's not scheduled till 3:46 a.m., but my run wasn't scheduled till 2:56 a.m. my time, so... Okay, yeah, there we go, Lidendi. Up next is Super Metroid. Nice. So yeah, guys, thanks again for watching. Thanks for helping out all the speedrunners that we're trying to help get to SGDQ. And enjoy Super Metroid. Later.